Sony make a mess of Helldivers 2 on PC. The Switch 2 will be confirmed, but not for a while, and Activision denies it's the Tony Hawk game we all deserve. I'm Matt Simpson. This is Jinx News. In one of the biggest screw-ups of the year so far, Sony announced over the weekend that they'd force all Helldivers 2 players on PC to have a PSN account connected to Steam to be able to play it. And the reception was frosty, to say the least. Fans took to Steam to tank the game's user reviews following the announcement. Over 200,000 people downvoted the game over the issue, which was made even worse when Steam pulled the title from 177 countries because they don't have access to the PlayStation Network. So yeah, the whole thing went down pretty badly. You might be surprised to hear that Sony had initially included this in the Helldivers 2 PC release, but had removed it owing to its surprise success. Apparently so many more were playing it than expected that linking accounts was proving technically difficult on such a large scale. But Sony took the time and money to make this work again. And now that all looks like a pretty big waste of effort, because less than 3 days later, Sony announced a U-turn on the decision, saying that they're still learning what is best for PC players, and that the feedback has been invaluable. I mean, anyone with any knowledge of games at all could have seen this coming. And it's the development studio Arrowhead I feel most sorry for. Through this fiasco, they've been nothing but apologetic, and clearly this has had nothing to do with them. Their CEO, Johan Pillerstedt, has been in constant dialogue on Twitter, addressing the issues, almost certainly under a barrage of abuse from people who don't understand how these things work. And now it seems like things are back to business as usual, with the game's reviews on Steam trending upwards once again. In fact, there's a campaign on Reddit called Operation Cleanup, in which members are being asked to reverse their negative Steam scores to reflect this decision, which is a nice thing to see. So, what do you think of Sony's part in this fiasco? Do you agree with the anger shown by fans, or was the reaction a bit over the top? Let me know your thoughts down below. Over to Nintendo now, and President Shintaro Furukawa, and yes, this is the only footage we could find of him, has confirmed that the company will hold its traditional June Nintendo Direct this year, but it will not include any information about the much anticipated sequel to the Switch, which for the sake of me saving words, I'll refer to as the Switch 2 for the rest of this story. In a tweet that reminded all of us that the original Switch was announced 9 years ago, Furukawa said that an announcement about the Switch 2 will be made this fiscal year, which means that we'll be getting an update sometime before April 2025. Not a release, by the way. An announcement, which for those anticipating the console would launch this year, will probably come as a kick in the teeth. Now bear in mind that the current Switch came out 2 years after the initial announcement. You can probably understand why people are annoyed about all this, but you've got to give it to Nintendo. It was the most low-key way of announcing the Switch 2. And if history has taught us anything, it's that they never get things wrong. Just get rid of that, get rid of that. If they think it's not ready, who are we to tell them otherwise? Or maybe they're getting everything they can from their current console. According to Dr. Serkan Toto, the CEO of Kantan Games, Nintendo forecasts 13.5 million Switch sales for this fiscal year, which for an outgoing console, it's a pretty brave target. Either way, while Nintendo are saying that they'll keep pumping out games, and will confirm as such during June's Nintendo Direct, the era of the Switch does finally look like it's coming to an end. It'll just be happening much later than everyone expected. We all know that Activision went from one of gaming's most prolific and interesting developers to a company who only release Call of Duty every year and think everything else is just yesterday's jam.
Yes! Yesterday's jam!
Now, anyone who played the Tony Hawk 1 and 2 remake will know just how good they were, reminding all 30-somethings of their teenage years of falling off a piece of wood with some nails in it to impress their girlfriend who dressed like Avril Lavigne. Sadly, very much not, speaking from experience. It was also a huge success commercially, selling 1 million copies in less than 2 weeks. So obviously developers Vicarious Visions thought the next logical step would be to remake the 3rd and 4th entries too. I mean, it seemed a slam dunk. Captive audience, game engine ready to go, levels and characters already designed, but no. Making some money wasn't enough for Bobby Kotick and his group of suits. They rejected the pitch for it outright and made the devs work on, guess what, Call of Duty. Cut to this. It's such an open goal for Activision to miss. Their reputation was already in the toilet prior to the Microsoft acquisition, and the 1 and 2 remakes were a rare win for the company. It wouldn't have taken the devs much time at all to develop and release a sequel, so why not just let them do it? And it's not the only game we never got to see either. Apparently, Activision had also partnered with Nintendo to develop a brand new Donkey Kong game before that was scrapped as well. And it sounded pretty cool. It was going to be a full 3D platformer, which is a first for DK, with fun traversal mechanics and direct input from Shigeru Miyamoto himself. However, the game never progressed beyond very early stages and was worked on for just about 6 months before being scrapped in favour of, guess what? Call of Duty. Phil Spencer, look, I know you're a fan of this show. Please bring back the Tony Hawk 3 and 4 remake. Please give us a new 3D platformer. If not Donkey Kong, then use Spyro. He was great. And for God's sake, stop Activision from just making COD games. Please, I'm begging you. Just a couple of bite-sized stories to end the show now. Starting off with Remedy, the guys behind Alan Wake and Control. Apparently, they've been beavering away for a while now on a multiplayer project, but have decided to cancel it in favour of other things. It was codenamed Project Kestrel, presumably after the 1969 Ken Loach film Kes, and apparently flip-flopped between a free-to-play multiplayer title and a more premium offering. In a statement from Remedy's CEO Tero Vitala, no staff will be laid off despite the project's cancellation, with those devs being moved onto other projects instead. Now, we know there's expansions coming for Alan Wake 2, as well as a sequel to Control, so clearly the Remedy staff have plenty to be getting on with. Meanwhile, the brilliant minds behind Hades 2 have dropped a bombshell by releasing the game in early access without any warning at all. Supergiant Games shadow dropped the title over the weekend on Steam's early access, something that follows the trend of its predecessor. The devs expect development on the title to continue through the rest of 2024, with no confirmed 1.0 release date as of yet. The original Hades was in early access for 2 years, which may give us some indication of when we can expect the full title to release. But if you can't wait to jump back into the Greek mythological underworld to fell its pantheon of gods and titans, you can do so for just $30. And that's it for today. Have you subscribed to Jinx Plus yet, by the way? It's the only way to watch brand new first hour episodes, as well as watch our back catalogue of excellent gaming content. You can even vote on what games the guys will play on the show, as well as lots of other cool and interesting things. So it's well worth looking into. Of course, give us a follow on all the socials as well to keep up to date with everything we're doing. Ash will be back tomorrow, so he will see you then.